What Avira?
What is the rate service?
So
So
it is a
as per
time.
the configuration, rate service is nothing but it will give a definition of how much time or how much speed it will cover a certain time. So that information we will define under the rate service. So in general, what I have to tell, so rate service, it will handle or it will capture the information of the service times, service levels, service times. So I'll go to the screen. So before going to rate service, what rate offering will explain you. Rate offering is nothing but what kind of offer we are receiving from the service provider. I'm talking everything now in the buy contract point of view. What offer we are receiving? Example, service provider is offering a truckload services. Service provider is offering a air services. Service provider is offering vessel services. So all these offerings, whatever we are receiving from the service provider, that we are defining under the rate offering. Then what is the rate record? Rate record, it is just purely price. What is the commercial you are talking with that service provider for buy contract? Example, there is a like per kilometer 4 rupees, per ship units 10 rupees, or I would say for inch it is a $1, or for example for I would say cubic feet $8. Like that, the price of the particular rate contract we are going to handle under the rate record configuration. So I repeat again, rate service will handle the service times, rate offering will handle the offering types, and rate record will handle the price of the particular contract. This is a simple definition. So I would say I'll go to rate service now.
Okay.
I will create now a click new. I will say US General Rate Server RS. I mean, it's a general speed and all this thing. So now here I'm just copying this name and we are posting into service name. Here rate service type. This is very important. Whether this rate service it's a air schedule, or whether it's like a wire schedule, or whether it's a something ground schedule, all these things it's going to decide by selecting this rate service type. So we will cover as of now two things. We'll cover rest of the things also, but we cover like lookup and we cover simulation. Now, what is simulation? Simulation is nothing but it's a general term. So simulation is nothing but a kind of data will provide into the in rate service. So system will calculate, system will simulate the data and information, and it will tell you the exact details or nearest details, simulation results. So here I say, when I say simulation, so I will click on details. When I click on details, here you just observe what I'm doing. When I click details, here distance, I will say 100 miles. My till 100 miles, my speed is 50. I'll go to 50 miles per hour and I will take a time. Example, I will say 2 hours. Consider first 100 miles, it's a within city. I can't go more than 50 speed. Now, next from 900 to till 1000, I'll go a speed called 80. And here I will say, normally if you go 80 miles distance by 80 miles per hour, how many hours it will take usually, the
One
time?
and off. 1 hour, 1 hour 20 minutes or like that.
Are you sure?
Yes.
How it's a 1 hour 20 minutes? I'm telling that 1,000 miles. So entire 1,000 miles, how many hours it will cover if they're going by 80 miles per hour? It's not. That's what we have to do a calculation.
Okay.
So I'm saying 1,000 miles. Okay, 1,000. See, again, it is not my own calculation. See, normally, if I cover per hour 60 miles per hour speed, and if I cover like 100 kilometers, then what is the I would say 1,000 kilometers I will cover. That means I will cover into 6 into 10.
10
I
hours.
mean, this is 6
50.
hours I will cover.
How it 6 hours?
See, I see my speed is, I would say here I will write. See, it's not something like I'm doing a great calculation. I'm telling you that, see, my speed is 60 miles per hour.
Okay.
Okay. If I go 60 miles per hour, I will cover 60 kilometers.
6 hours you will cover.
Yeah. So now, if I travel 10 hours, I will cover 600 kilometers.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Likewise, if I
Total
want to
60
travel,
minutes.
if I want to travel 1,000 miles with 80 miles per hour, how much time it will take? This is what I'm asking. You said like 1 hour.
1,000
No, no.
1,000 divided by 80. That means per hour you will travel 80.
1,000 miles divided by 80
So that
and
is means
It is
into
12
six
hours.
into 60.
12 hours, 20 minutes or 30 minutes.
Okay. Yes. So 12 hours. Yeah, exactly. Whatever you said, 12.5. That's what I also confused initially. You said like something like 1 hour, something you said. Okay.
I thought here it is 100
No, no,
miles.
no, 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 no. Okay.
Okay.
If you don't know this calculation, my recommendation, what you have to do that always come to here and here you just give a blank. You remove these hours and system will calculate. If you know exactly, then only you can give.
Okay. That's perfect.
You
Then
understand or not?
yes.
So why, see, if I say 2 hours means I'm overriding here.
Okay.
You see, if you give more, it's okay. But if you give less, then system will get confused. See here, I will say 120 speed. I'm not going to give any time. Just I will say finish. This is the definition of the rate service. What I created US general rate service. That means if any service provider who is working in US and he can provide these speeds on average. I did not mention any service provider specific. So we can create a service provider specific rate service and we can create general rate services also. Just follow me how we'll use general rate service. I will tell you. Okay. So as I mentioned, whenever you define this rate contract, a rate service is the mandatory. Okay. Now I'm going to create another rate service. Another rate service, I will say US San Francisco to, I would say Los Angeles. Okay. Here, instead of simulation, I will say lookup. What I'm telling, instead of US, I will say lookup. When I say lookup, system will ask you point to point, what is the distance and what is the time you will take. That is what it will ask. So point to point, I have to define here. I will say click plus symbol and I will say here I will say US Santo loss. I will say here this is the location and this is the location and I will say lane definition. See, I'm creating on the fly. Okay, don't get confused. But if you want to perform this, you have to do this setup little before to configure this. But I just instantly creating, I know how to do this. But normally these things you have to handle or you have to configure before you coming into this particular screen. So I'm clicking now new location role profile. I will say it just I'm creating location concept. You already did. No need to worry about that. Okay, I'm just creating here only point earlier rate service. I did not mention any location. I said a general rate service. But this rate service I am telling it's a point to point I'm saying. So when I say point to point, system will ask you what is the time you will what is the time you take or the service provider will take. So that exact information we have to provide here. Okay. So here I'll say US and I'll say roles. Guys, you can ask question. So don't get hesitate to uh, if something is in there in your mind.
Yeah, what is this error it is?
See if something duplicate is there, then it will come. So someone already created Los Angeles. So that is the reason it is not allowing. Now I gave a Los Angeles underscore one. Okay. You an unidentified error you will get. So here I said lane ID US San to Los. So how many days it will take? I said here I will say 23 hours. I don't know what is the calculation, but I just gave roughly. So only as of now, you just consider only lane related service time and this information, not do not give HOS rule set ID or initial rest time and all this. This we are going to come later and we will discuss later. So at this moment, the simple rate definition what I created two types of rate services. One is with lookup, another one is the simulation. What is the difference between simulation and lookup mean? A simulation is a general rate service which covers based on the speed and time and kilometers. What is the lookup means? Exactly, you're giving a point to point and you're telling that this is the time for this point to this point. And that is what a lookup. I hope it's clear for you. Okay. Now, so now before we create a rate offering and write down create a service provider. I am assuming you already created service provider, but in the screen I'm creating again one more time my service providers. So navigation under the contract and rate management, you will find a option called sorry, service provider. So service provider, did we cover this service provider topic or is this the first time we are talking?
It's the first time.
Okay, good. So if it is the first time, guys understand. So here, when I go to this navigation, see where is the navigation? You can make a note. So under contract and rate management, you have an option called rate service provider manager. And here, what you have to do, you have to click new, and then here you just write down a service provider name. So I call as a Ruan Logistics. I say US. Okay. So it's just a name. By giving this name, it's for identifier for you, but there is no I would say by giving this particular name, system will understand this is the Rowan Logistics and all. It's no. It's just a name. It's a master data. Okay. This is not exactly live data. We are interfacing from the Ruan Logistics and we are not creating. See, normally any application, no one is going to create exactly Ruan's logistics or any other service provider related setup. If you create Ruan Logistics, if you feel as a Ruan Logistics, then it's a Ruan Logistics service provider. There is no other confusion here. Okay, it's how you define. That is what. So here you see service provider a slash location. Here you can see service provider slash like location name. That means whenever you define service provider in OTM, OTM will define a additional configuration called location. It's a standard behavior. Exactly, we understand the relation item and package item, right? Same way here also it will do the same process. It's a very simple. It's OTM architecture. So now, if you want to give a corporation details, just click on a corporation details. This corporation details is not mandatory. So it's just for, as of now, it's information, and I'm just giving the, that means Ruan have a multiple services and they are falling under like different services. So if you want to follow the corporation, you can give a corporation. At this moment, not required. And if this service provider is temporary, and why when we create a temporary, when we create a permanent means, if you want to use one time, or if you want to use only from certain period to certain period, then you will use a temporary. But this temporary is just a information checkbox. And as per my understanding, with this particular temporary checkbox, you can define a logic later point of view, later point of time. But at this moment, when you say temporary means, system will consider it's a temporary. When you say like it will consider as an information field, this is temporary. And with this temporary checkbox, there is no harm. Okay. But
Okay.
you want to tell to system, or you want to know yourself anytime in future, how many temporary service provider you created, how many permanent service providers you created, mean, and you need information, right? And it's someone, it's a kind of sometimes it's a client requirement also. So using this checkbox will handle. So what is the SCAC? So SCAC is nothing but, see, in US, what they follow, they have something like bodies. I mean, all logistics companies, all transportation industries, government bodies, they all follow into kind of I would say complaints, or I would say proper mechanism to identify the service providers, to identify their like logical details. So SCAC is a kind of registration which they did with the US. Okay, that means every service provider you put a Rowan Logistics, you put a ABC Logistics, doesn't matter. SCAC is a identifier for the government. So if you give SCAC details, and if anytime US people or US police or transportation team, if they find anything wrong, they will ask, what is the service provider SCAC ID? That is the important information which they follow into the US. So in our case, it's not required. Is it clear till now? So we discussed like service provider ID, service provider name, corporation, temporary, SCAC. So likewise, we have a other field called mode profile, rate surveys, equipment mark list, allow spot rating. These are all, again, we have a different functionality, and we are not going to discuss all this functionality at this moment. We'll come
And
back.
what about this reference, which is a mandatory field here? Reference number
It's a blue
qualifier.
mandatory, it's a blue mandatory field. You no need to give any time. So whenever you have a requirement, then only you can give. Okay.
What is that? I mean,
Mm. Yeah,
reference.
yeah, reference is nothing but you already working on EBS, right? So how you handle the DFFs, the DFFs and all we call as a reference qualifier here.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So reference qualifiers, it's nothing but it's extra information. Okay. Now what is the service provider alias qualifier ID? So alias means, I would say,
Alternate name or alternate.
alternative name and all this thing. So alias is nothing but, I will say, Ruan Logistics. The name I created on top, I said US Ruan Logistics. but his alias is Rowan Logistics. Okay. If you have a different alias name, you will give. Guys, keep remember what I'm trying to tell you. This is the data, or I would say information fields and logical fields. And if you create here, and if you want to apply into somewhere in your future requirements, you will apply. But every time, don't consider that when I configure this, something will happen in application. No. When you do a proper relation and setups, when you define proper agents and workflows, then only system will work. I hope you understand what I'm trying to tell.
Yeah, got it. Viram, so we are for our training purpose, we are creating everything, but on live projects, it will be already defined, right?
Live project, it may required, it may not be required. It's up to client requirements. So he
Oh,
will say that my service provider have a corporation details, my service provider have a like alias details. So they will tell you that, they will say that we will use some logics and some functionality using a additional information of the service provider. He will say additional information of the service provider, but he will not tell exactly, I will use alias, I will use a corporation. He will not tell. He will say that we have a huge information from service provider, and using that huge information, and we define a logic. So then you have to think how many options are available in our OTM, and how we can bring that particular uh, logic in our OTM application. All these things by looking into this service provider screen, and you can able to implement. Okay.
okay, got it.
So now service provider alias we discussed. Now here as I mentioned, the country code we have to give as a mandatory, and I will say city, I will say Texas. Okay, here a province code, all these things you have to give. Whenever you give this information, so if you give longitude and latitude information, I will say Texas, uh, latitude, sorry, longitude and latitude. I told you when we are doing this like location configuration, how we give like longitude and latitude information. Same way service provider level also you can give, but it's not mandatory. If you give, what is the benefit? One shot, you are creating service provider and you are creating a service provider location. That means service provider belongs to which location. So that we are defining a in one particular configuration itself, service provider details as well as the location details. That is the purpose of they gave a option called service provider / with a location ID.
Okay,
Now
what is the navigation for this location?
it's
For
not
creating.
location. It's not location. It's a service provider only we are doing. So under contract and rate management, we have a service provider manager. If you open the service provider manager, you will see these screens. That's it. We are not creating location, but whenever you create a service provider, the screen itself, application by default, they gave an option to create a location also. That's what I'm telling. Here I'll say demo.otm@gmail.com. Don't give any emails which belongs to you, and I'm just giving something like uh, some fake email. I'll say this is what my email. I will click on finish. Okay, now the important point, what we created now, this is the service provider. You can see under service provider. If I edit now, you can see service provider / location ID. Okay, whether location is created with this name or not, how you can check? Copy here and click home, and come to shipment management, and come to location manager, and here just paste this particular service provider ID and enter. See, system shown, it is under the location, service provider name is there. Why its service provider name is there? That is what I am telling you repeatedly. When you're defining a service provider, application even giving a leverage or an option to create a location, whatever service provider ID you giving, same ID it will consider as a location ID. Maybe you ask question, why we creating a service provider name as a location ID means, in terms of the functionality wise, service provider home location we are defining with one shot. By creating a service provider ID, we are creating a location. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, now, so what created, when we created service provider created, and same time OTM created location, and OTM will create a other two additional objects, additional configuration. What is the additional configuration? System will create a contact also. Go to business process automation, right, navigation. Go to business process automation and communication management. Under the communication management, you have an option called,
1 second, little bit slow. No, I didn't take it down the navigation.
I am repeating again. I'm saying like business process automation. See, don't follow screen and try to write when I'm trying to explain. I'm saying business process automation. You have to say BPA and communication management, and you have an option called contacts. So if I click a contacts, navigation is very simple. Business process automation, communication management, and contacts. Now here in contact also, I'm just giving US Rowan logistics. When I enter here, you see system already created one contact also. How system created a contact? Only one reason. When I'm defining a service provider, in the next screen, communication and remarks level, I gave a Gmail ID or any email ID. If you give anytime email ID, system will create a contact for service provider. If you don't give any email ID or a contact information, system will create only three objects. One is in OTM, it will create a service provider, location ID, and then it will create a service provider login ID. Service provider
Login.
login. So whenever you give a email ID, then system will create a fourth object. It is nothing but a contact. So I am repeating my point again. Whenever you define something in OTM, like service provider, you have a option to see four objects if you properly configure the service provider ID. This is the clear and crispy answer. Okay. So now we tested three now. Now we want to test fourth one. What is the fourth one? I said it will create a service provider login ID. Okay. To log in service provider, what you have to do here. Okay. Just go to notepad, and now you have to paste the notepad level. What is the service provider ID? And now you have to prepare a service provider login syntax. The login syntax is serve prov dot domain name learn hyphen, and you have to give service provider ID. Okay. In bottom, I will say service provider, serve pro, prov. This is the common prefix, and dot domain name. So today I gave a access to you guys, or I'm accessing learn dot admin. Learn dot is nothing but learn is my domain name. So tomorrow if I say my domain name is demo dot So my domain name is demo. Then your domain name you have to consider as a name called demo. Then hyphen is common, and I will say US Ruan. I'm writing very slowly. I hope you guys following the same in your notes. So you can copy from there. So what is the Ruan Logistics? Ruan Logistics is the service provider. Service provider ID from where it will start? From US to US Ruan Logistics. ServPro means it's the ServPro domain name. That means we are accessing using a domain called ServPro domain using a main domain. That means in OTM we have a business domain and we have a ServPro domain. What is the business domain? Business domain is nothing but whatever we are accessing, learn, or I would say tomorrow I say Tata, or I would say other day if I say something like uh, mm, example Reliance. These are all domains. If I create in future, this will be a business domain. What is the ServPro domain? ServPro domain is always a ServPro. Why we call as a ServPro domain as a separate domain means service providers always external people to OTM. If I give access to this business domain, they will see your data, they will manipulate your data, they will get unnecessary information, and you're not supposed to share your business information. So it's a OTM architecture. Whenever OTM you install or you implement to any application, OTM architecture, the data wise, they segregate it into two different domains. Service providers will follow into service provider domains. Business users will follow under the business domain. So why domain? They call domain is nothing but a security and I would say data segregation within the application, or I would say access segregation within the application, or you can say it's a limitation between the two different user groups. Okay,
Okay.
it's a very simple. Do not confuse. There is no hard and fast and rule here. It's a just OTM architecture. So if I give service provider users also in my business domain, I told you the challenge. They can see all the data. There is no security. They can access all our information. They'll see business complex information. They'll come to know what's going on in your application. When you make as a separate domain, you are not making. Already application architecture is made like that. So service provider domain is a separate domain. So there you have to access service providers as a separately. Now, to access service providers separately, what you have to do, your domain name has to start for service provider ServPro dot domain name is nothing but learn and hyphen and user ID. So password always welcome or change me. What is the password? By default, again, this is not compulsory. It will come as a password as a welcome or change me, but 90% password they'll follow change me or welcome. Okay, now I'm going to try to access my service provider account. So I copied from the notepad. So how I copied from the notepad, how I prepared in the notepad, even though I'm a senior, you have to follow same thing in future. So you can see this is the way. And now if I come to here, I will give a password called change me and I will say enter. So what it is saying? Invalid
Password.
username or password. So now why it is showing invalid username and password mean there is some setups are missing, so that you have to do. So here again I'm logging with the learn.admin. Click on sign in. Okay, you see there is an option here in the bottom. You are an admin. Now what you have to do, you have to switch your role to service
Service
provider
provider.
admin.
Okay.
So here it is not showing service provider admin. Okay, so what you have to do, that sign out and log in again. Log in again. But the application, whatever I gave the access to you, there you will see the server admin. You no need to log in as a separately. You can switch the role. Okay.
Okay.
I just log in as a server admin. Server admin. And now you have to go to security services. Right, a navigation security services. And here you have an option called user manager. User manager, and go to now option called again a user manager. See, you see this guy server pro admin means he handles, he manages all the service providers within the application. Okay, here he's the admin, and he searched the service provider, still he didn't find. And here why he didn't find means I gave like all additional information here. Only have to copy only service provider name from US Ruan. Just search again. Still it is not showing. Okay, right. So I will remove again, and I will do a blank search for you. How many service providers already created this application? You can see Learn VRL India, Learn India to Park Service, and all these things someone has created. So here, where is my service provider? Whether system is automatically created or not, as per my statement, I'm just going to cross check. So I'm just click all service providers. The system will show the result. Okay, here I'm saying okay. So I'm not finding my service provider here. No, it's there. You can see.
Yes.
Yes, it is learn iPhone. Yes.
Yeah. So it came with the learn hyphen and all, but normally it should not come with the learn hyphen, but maybe it's a new process. Every time it is creating a learn. It's like, I mean, application also they are doing all enhancement and all, but in future, in past, we will not get a option called learn hyphen. We always get a user ID called from US only. Now they want to know this service provider which domain they created. For that only they are like creating this. So now here what I have to do, that I will go here, I will edit here. What I will do, that I will do a password reset. I will give a change me. I will give password change me. Okay, I say finish. Okay, now this is I did. I just reset my password. Okay, now I'll go to home again. See, as I mentioned in previous version, we used to search with exact user service provider ID, but in the present versions, system is creating a relation with the business domain to this one. Now I'm trying to find again my service provider. Here, you can see where is my navigation. If I go home here, there is an option called user association. User association means if
Assigning
system,
the user.
yeah, if assigning a user to a service provider ID. See, under the manage user association, where we are under security services, user manager, we have a manage association. So if here association is not happened for your service provider, if I paste it and I did a control find and it's there. If it is there, don't touch anything. If it is not there, what you have to do, you have to come to here, you have to give your username. What is your username? Here, my username is here.
Learn if
Yeah, learn. Guys, follow the thumb rule. Don't jump into any other names. Okay. Service provider. Now here, association value. So I have to give a association value called exactly service provider ID. What is the service provider ID? Here you have to search US. This is two service providers. Here this is the service provider. And now you have to click add. So you can see I gave a username, I gave a association qualifier, association value service provider. I have to click add. But now why I'm not doing this association? System already did the association. Only out of our discussion, I did a password reset. Other than that, I did not do anything. So I'm just clicking on sign out. Again, I'm clicking login to OTM. So here, this time I'm giving my user ID. And what is my password? Here my password is change me. So if I say sign in, you can see I am logging as a service provider, learn US, Ruan logistics. So this is a service provider ID. So here you can see there is no security services. There is no option which we seen in the server pro admin. That means every role will have a set of menus, a set of accesses. So here you have to understand at this particular screen. So do not have any option called user management or anything. So service provider should not control to other or should not change something by his I would say user related option. So someone admin has to do that. That is what you have to understand. Okay, our purpose is to show how many objects are created when you create a service provider. Guys, can you repeat again? So how many objects is created by system when you created a service provider?
Yes, we create a service provider. It is creating a location, and system is creating the location, and system is creating the login ID.
Mm. And it created a contact. So we
Contact.
don't take that
Yes.
much time. So we don't have that much time. Okay. Quickly we
Sure,
have to
yeah.
tell. So now I'm coming back again my domain. So I'm saying now I'm logging again. Right. So when I log in again, see here. So what the topics we are discussing, we are under the contract and rate management. Under the contract management, we defined rate service and we did not define rate offering. Why we did not define rate offering means, I will tell you, I can create a rate offering within a couple of seconds. But the important topic under the rate offering, on the fly, I can create a service provider, but I took almost 20 minutes for service provider topic. So if I create a on the fly that service provider, if I discuss about this service provider, see here also you have an option called service provider. If I click plus symbol, here also same setup I can do, but I may not have a chance to discuss this much. And if I discuss service provider topic here, if I jump into completely service provider, when I come back to rate offering, you say that we lost, sir. We didn't understand. You will tell all this thing. So to avoid that kind of I would say feedback, I just stopped to create a rate offering. Instead of that, I created a service provider ID and I shown you all the capabilities. Okay, now I'm creating a rate offering. I will say US Ruan rate offering. I say offering type is TL. I say transport mode also. Again, I say TL. See why offering type and transport mode, it's same names we are following. See, sometime offering is nothing but when I go to any hotel, I will ask what you are going to offer. They say that we offer lunch. And I will say, when they say offering lunch is, I will ask that how many types of lunch is there? They will say South India thali and they'll say North India thali, and they'll say something like some names they will tell. But offering is what? A lunch. But if I ask a food, again, it is a specific food they are trying to give a kind of lunch. So that South India thali or North India thali, all this thing we call as a transport modes. So I mean to say, in one offering you may have multiple modes also. So at this moment we are not going to jump complex modes and all, but the difference between offering type and transport mode I'm just trying to explain to you. Okay. Now, what is the service provider ID? So service provider ID, you always, instead of typing here in the screen, you have to always search. So the reason, if you type, it won't come. If you type, if you search, it will come quickly. Only service provider field. Rest of the fields, it will come very quickly. See here, I will say US General RS. Here it is coming. But if I do same search in service provider, it will not come. The problem is it's a service provider and this rate offering have a kind of complex relation, and OTM will not show suggestions here. In other places it will show suggestions, but here it will not show suggestions. So here you see a rate version. I would say current. So what is the rate version? So here, that is what? This particular rate, since how long you are going to have with the service provider. It is just a time, effective time and expiration time. Other than that, you do not have anything. I will say US Ruan version. Okay, I will say version 20. Effective date, I will say February 1st. Expiration date, and I will say 21 February 1st. That means I'm creating this contract for 1 year, right? So, but earlier what I did, I took a rate version called current. So what is current will have? Current, it have like almost, I created this rate version for till 31, 2031. That means I don't want to cross check every time this rate version, it's a right or wrong, whether rate version is having a expiry date or not. So to avoid all these problems, I just created current. But if you give your own rate version, you have to be little conscious. So if rate version is expired, and OTM will not create a shipment with this particular service provider. That is the challenge. So this is the one of the problem, and you might face when you are supporting for OTM project. If rate version is like a short version, and if the version is expired, a shipment will not create with the service provider, and your end users will ask why shipment is not creating with the Ruan Logistics. The one of the reason, the rate version already expired and you still trying to create a shipment with this service provider. Now click on attributes. Now click on attributes. Now here you remember, once you click on attributes, write down. Once you click on attributes, under the rate distance, just give lookup else estimate. Option called lookup else estimate. What is the lookup else estimate means? The rate service, whatever we created before creating a rate offering, there is a option called lookup rates, and I created a option called simulation rates. Simulation rates means, see, you are telling that for 1,000 kilometers this is the speed and this is the time, and for 10,000 kilometers you are telling that this is the speed, this is the time, but you are not telling exactly how many hours, how many minutes from source to destination for the shipment it will take. So you are telling general information, you are creating a general information. System will calculate based on the longitude, latitude information when you give this option called estimate. Lookup else estimate. Estimate means not like as a 10 to 15 kilometers or 40 kilometers difference. Estimate means maybe 1 or 2 kilometers or 100 or 200 meters nearest points it will estimate. So when I say lookup else estimate means, if my rate service is created with lookup, system will take lookup rates. If my rate service is created with simulation rates, system will estimate. I'm telling one shot, I'm telling if it's a lookup data, take lookup data. If lookup data is not there, do a estimation. That is what I'm telling under the rate distance ID. Any questions?
Fine.
Oh, good. Click on finish. So what we did, we created a rate offering. So as per our topics, we need to create a three functionalities. One is rate service, rate offering, and rate record. So we created two, and now I'm trying to create a third option. So to create a third rate record, do not navigate anywhere. You can write down again, do not navigate anywhere. Go to this rate offering and click on here, and you have an option called actions. I will repeat again. Go to rate offering, select the checkbox without closing the rate offering screen. Just go to rate offering, select that action. You have an option called create rate record. So we can create rate record multiple ways, but this is the easiest way. Okay.
Abhiram, just 1 minute.
Okay, I would repeat again. To create a rate offering, what is the mandatory fields we need to define? We need to define a rate service as a mandatory, and other mandatories are service provider. To create a rate record, what is the mandatory? Rate offering is a mandatory. Without rate offering, you can't create a rate record. See, rate record is nothing but the cost which is quoted by the service provider, and always the cost will quote by a specific service provider. A specific service provider we are creating under the rate offering. Then logically rate offering is a mandatory for the rate record. So Bhagavan, I'm waiting for you. So here rate record, I will say US Ruan. What is that? What we created? Los Angeles. I'll say US Ruan rate record. I may not remember the name. Guys, are you with me? So here I select a option called source location under the geo hierarchy as a location, and I select destination geo hierarchy again as a location. I repeat again. I just gave the rate record ID, and under source geo hierarchy I selected a location, and destination geo hierarchy I created as again location. So I'm telling to my system, this rate record, it has to work for only specific source to specific destination. It should not support to other geography. So here I said like my first location is what? Los Angeles. Second location is Los Angeles, right? Okay, Los Angeles. And here I created, what is that? Texas or what? Not Texas. Guys, you remember?
I think California.
Yes. Good. So California. Guys, go to mute if you're not speaking. California. So now click on rate cost. Under the rate cost, click add a cost. So here we are telling that how much the service provider going to charge for each shipment or each ship unit or each barrel or each inch or each I would say volume or weights, all these things, where you can see all these options. So under here you have to select always a charge type as a cost type as a charge, and here I'm telling what is my rate model. You have almost all 500 or 250 attributes. Out of these attributes you can select any attribute or any combination. So this attribute numbers I am not remember exactly, but it is near to 250 or something. That means OTM is going to support a multiple kind of rate combinations. So this is very important. And this screen, you just remember, you guys have to pick up by your own, or you have to test minimum 50 rate setups here, individual. I would say what is individual means. I will say here my rate setup is, this time I'm selecting ship unit. I'm telling ship unit for my one ship unit. Ship unit can be a small box or like a big box or anything. I say $10. I click save. Now finish. That means if my order is contain of like 200 ship units means 200 into 10. That means the shipment cost is a 2000 US dollars. So likewise, what I'm trying to tell you, you have to practice minimum 50 different rate cost types on an average for location. That means each rate record should contain one rate type, and you have to test the results. How rates are applying, how rates are ticking based on the order information. When you do good practice in this rate record, and your job will be easy when you are getting into any OTM project. So most of the like customers, they will have a different cost types they will ask to implement in your OTM. And OTM, the good part in OTM, and why OTM is like accepted by most of the customers, because of this wide capacity of rate types. So if customer having different payment processes, example, inch wise, volume wise, I mean to say density wise, whatever they tell, 90% system will support. So that is the reason people are buying OTM. So now this is the rate setup is completed. So why I came to the screen? So I said a assignment to you. You have to create a minimum 50 rate records for 50 rates service providers with different rate costs. You have to try. Then you will be become a like as a kind of expert in the rates. So you have to think It's all completely based on your ideas and information only. I mean, the way you go, the way you understand, that only you have to pick. So I mean, it's there is no hard and fastened rule, and no one is going to say. I mean, in practice, you have to take only this rate record, that rate record. No, think on the paper, and what is the chances of like calculation. You just prepare on the Excel and try to implement same thing in this particular rate concept. So I'm just clicking finish. I'm just clicking finish. Say I'll close here. I'm coming to again OTM home screen. Guys, I'm repeating my question. What are the configurations we did for today? We did service provider manager, we did rate service, rate offering, rate record. So all these 4 configurations we consider as a rate contract setup for one service provider. If you handling, you are a manufacturing company and you implementing OTM for you, and you already handling minimum 3,000 service providers in your business. That means how many rate contracts you have to create as a minimum. If you consider each service provider is one rate contract, how many rate contracts you have to create?
50, 15.
No, man. You have a 3,000 service provider. Each service provider is a one rate contract.
Oh, that means okay. If it is like this, can we use any import kind of things
No,
here?
no, I'm not asking import or export first thing. I'm asking you 3,000 different service providers you have. If you want to do a business with 3,000 service provider, how many minimum rate contracts you have to do? Create.
3,000.
Yes. If the 3,000 service provider providing a variety of services to you, example, each service provider is creating a 10 types of services, then how many you have to create rate contracts in OTM?
30,000.
Sorry?
10 means it comes under 30,000.
So 30,000 rate records you have to create, not rate offerings.
Yes, rate records.
Okay, rate offerings also I'm not saying 3,000. Rate offering, if you use only truckload, and if you if you getting 10 types of rates from the service provider, then it will be a 30,000 rate record, 3,000 rate offering. But if the same service provider is providing air rate offering, vessel rate offering, and truckload rate offering, almost all 10 rate offerings, for each rate offering, if you provided 10 rate types, different location, consider that how many rate records you have to create.
Around 1
Yeah,
lakh.
Okay, I hope you
1 lakh.
understand. See, I don't want
Yes.
exact numbers, but you understand the complexity of OTM, where we are working, and what is the core capacity of the OTM.
got it.
Okay,
Okay.
so any questions from this topic? I hope you already written proper navigations. I explained, I gave enough time for each screen, and I explained all the points, what is the questions you have. So I'm considering that you guys will prepare a notes, your own notes, and you're going to do a your own setups without any second thought. Done, guys. Asking you whether you guys are okay. Anything is you have a questions. We are going to wind up the call.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, so we are going to stop the session. I'll catch you